How's it going, guys? Dark Reviewer again. So, I believe it's time we get back to doing another video. It may be a little bit of a shorter one, but it's going to be another top 10 list. So, yep, in probably a top 10 list that I am actually most excited to do, it's actually have to deal with, yep, the Big G himself. Here are my top 10 favorite Godzilla films. Number 10. So kicking off this list for the Big G's top 10 films to me, probably have to say is the probably lesser known one from the Heisei era, Godzilla 1984, or The Return of Godzilla. This one was actually kind of a soft reboot of the Godzilla series. After it took a break in 1976 when they did Terror Mechagodzilla, the studio actually wanted to reintroduce Godzilla as like another entity of nature. He was supposed to be this like play on how nuclear war is going to affect everything. And for what it's worth, it did recreate a lot of stuff from the original film back in the 50s, but it still just lacked something that a lot of the other films did, which was something we're used to now these days is Godzilla fighting monsters, but also was his appearance. I mean, the suit, face did look a little weird. But either way, it was a good way to see the Big G's back in action. Number 9. So getting into more of the early 2000s, we're actually going to see another reboot for the Godzilla series, but this one, it did something right. Godzilla 2000. Godzilla 2000. This was the beginning of the third series, the Millennium series of the Godzilla franchise. And for what it's worth, it was definitely better than what 1984 did, because it gave us a modern look at Godzilla in the 2000 era, but also it gave us him fighting an original monster named Orga. And I have to say, his design, both his and Godzilla's in this film, were really good. It's like very well done. It was a shame though that the Millennium series didn't really live up to expectations, because each film after 2000 was like trying to be a direct sequel to the original film instead of being a sequel to the others like the Heisei and the Hoshigira series did. But either way, Godzilla 2000 paved the way for a new generation to come in, and this is also the first one to be released internationally. And like the others, you had to get them on DVD and all the others. So 2000 was definitely a spark, which made Godzilla more keen to public. Number 8. So this one, we're going way back, probably back to the late 60s for this one. Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, or Godzilla vs. Ghidorah. So, this one was the first time we actually saw Godzilla's arch nemesis, the three-headed golden dragon Ghidorah. Now, Ghidorah, he's a space dragon with 3 heads, 2 tails, and shoots lightning gravity beams out of his mouth. But this wasn't the first time we got introduced to a new character. This is also the first time we saw 3 other monsters team up to fight him. So we had Godzilla, Rodan, and Mothra. And get this. All of these monsters I'm listing out in this one, they're going to be in Godzilla King of the Monsters this upcoming weekend. So, that being said, this is probably a no-brainer for me to put on the list. Because it was funny, it was kooky, it was just something we wanted in a Godzilla film, which was guys in rubber suits, smashing models and all that. But it started showing that Godzilla is taking it more serious and doing the whole giant monster fight. and I literally cannot wait to see what they do with all these new designs for the next movie. It's going to be absolutely sick. Number 7. Moving in a little further in the original series, we actually come across the first time we see the second most popular nemesis to Godzilla. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla from 1976. This was the first film we got to see Mechagodzilla, which, to me, this film was probably the more bloody version. There was a scene where Godzilla's like doing what King Kong does, he's ripping the jaw open off of someone else, but Godzilla's doing it to Anguirus, a former ally of his, and it actually just shows like blood dripping down and getting on Godzilla's hands, all that, and Godzilla's actually bleeding out of his neck from certain scenes. It was more of a darker and bloodier story. I mean, it still had like Godzilla in rubber suits and all that, and like explosions and like giant monster fights, but this was probably the first time they wanted to make Godzilla seem more realistic and more tailored towards a much older audience. Because the other entries in that series before this movie was a little more kid-friendly, and a lot of them are actually pretty bad. But this was the first time that I started to become a fan of Mechagodzilla, because it's like Terminator. It's like Mechagodzilla's in this version, he was in Godzilla's like false skin, so it was pretty interesting. And if they actually bring him in the Warner Brothers series, I will absolutely be totally 100% okay with that. Number 6. So now we're jumping back again into the Millennium series, but this one is actually a sequel to a previous film that I probably will mention in the honorable mentions. Godzilla Tokyo SOS. This one is a sequel not only to the original film like a lot of the Millennium series is, but this was also a sequel to Godzilla X Mechagodzilla, or Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 3. And this one had a great story, and it brought back Mothra and Mothra's children, and it's just the new designs for Godzilla and Mechagodzilla looked absolutely great, and the visuals were even more fantastic. It had bigger budgets. The Millennium series was like something that Toho was pushing towards to be like bigger movies and not just low budgets. So Tokyo SOS was the one that connected to the original movie actually very nicely, because they took the bones from the old Godzilla in 1954 and made Mechagodzilla out of that, and that was like so Mothra is fighting Godzilla to get the bones back to where they belong, but Godzilla is Godzilla doing his thing, just wreaking havoc on Japan. So either way, this film does convey a really good human plot, which is like, what? Human plot is actually good in a Godzilla film? I mean, come on guys, I'll be honest. The human parts in Godzilla films don't bore me. I mean, yes, there are certain ones that do, but all of them are not as bad as what we've seen. So, Godzilla Tokyo SOS is a good one to see. And if you're a fan of like just flashy effects and like very good monster cinematography, this is probably a good one to get into. Number 5. This one, I was almost devastated after watching. Godzilla vs. Destroya. This was supposed to be the last Godzilla film. Yes, Toho was trying to say that this is the last one, and how like they're making it sum up that Godzilla is dying in this film, like how Superman died in Death of Superman comic book. But what made this film so good was because it had a fantastic like final little entry to the final little entry to the Heisei series, which is basically recapping a lot of the other monster films we've seen until now. But it also is, when they say the word Destroya, it's Destroya! It's like, holy crap, what's going on here? but his design, it's like he's the freaking devil. I mean, look at this guy. He's so badass looking. That to me is like, not to mention he was the one that killed Godzilla's son. So, Godzilla vs. Destoroyah was something that was connecting very well to the original film, and was also supposed to be the final end to Godzilla's franchise. But he's not, and they brought him back in the, because this film came out in 1996, and they waited about 4 years, and then we saw the 1998 American version, and they were like, you know what, fuck it, let's get back into Godzilla. So either way, Godzilla vs. Destoroyah left its mark as being one of the best films in the Heisei series, as well as one of the top movies in any Godzilla fan base. Number 4. This one made Destroy All Monsters a run for its money. Godzilla Final Wars. Now, this to me was my version of Destroy All Monsters, because they released every single monster in the franchise in this film. I'm not kidding. You had Godzilla, Gigan, Ghidorah, Anguirus, Mothra. The list just goes on. They even brought in the 1998 Zilla from the Godzilla American first attempt film, and they killed him off. I was like, take that, America. So either way, Godzilla Final Wars was meant to be just, they wanted to go all out with all these monsters. And to me, I loved it. They gave a lot of good new designs for these monsters. Like Gigan, he looked very well done. Like almost like a cyborg with like his hook blades, and also that he got chainsaws for hands after that. And then also they kept the final boss hidden, but it was later to be Ghidorah. And his design alone was like, wow. I can see where King of the Monsters got its inspiration from. So if you just love like big old like monster battles and like good old like Godzilla smashing things, this film is perfect for you guys. I highly recommend it, and you might actually like it more than Destroy All Monsters and some of the other big team-ups that we'll probably see in the future. Number 3. Now this one, a lot of people have criticism about it, but this is also one I reviewed and gave it a good score because I was generous enough, and not to mention I'm a fan. Godzilla 2014. That's right. The second attempt at Godzilla for the Americans is, to me, a higher Godzilla film on this list. Because Godzilla's design, his design is so freaking cool. And just his roar, the way that Gareth Edwards shot a lot of his scenes, like he's in the smoke, or they have like the scene where he comes in with his atomic breath as a big old like finale in the fight. Because this film is what we're gonna get for Godzilla King of the Monsters, and this is the whole combination with that and Kong Skull Island that we're getting a monster cinematic universe from Legendary. And the way their track record is, Godzilla was good, Kong Skull Island was, I mean, it was fun to watch, but it wasn't great. And now we have King of the Monsters, and then after that, we have the remake Godzilla vs. King Kong. So they're giving us all of these like future monster films, and this is the one that kicked it off. So give it a watch. You might like it, you might not. I mean, it's true, there isn't a lot of Godzilla, but I think he has a good enough screen time. And if you're looking forward to see the next film in this upcoming weekend, start with this one off first. Number 2. This one, I actually agreed with the box art saying this is the mother of all Godzilla films. And you'll see why. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. Wow. This one, when I watched when I was a kid, I watched it over and over and over and over again. Not just for the visuals, but also Mechagodzilla's look, as well as Rodan, and Godzilla's son even looks better than Manila did, because Manila back in the Hoshei series was stupid. And of course, the music. The music for this film was fantastic. The opening scene when they're building Mechagodzilla, it was just so well done. And I just loved them for it. Because this film came out around when I was born. And when I watched it for the first time after it came out on DVD from Japan, I fell in love with it. Because this to me was the film that a lot of Godzilla adventures should be. A good, strong little subplot of the humans, but also having that whole overarching arc from Godzilla himself. So give it a watch. I highly recommend it, and you guys will probably like it for Mechagodzilla alone. Honorable mentions. Yep, it's going to be a little bit of an honorable mentions list because, let's face it, Godzilla's been around for 65 years in the movie industry, and he's had over 32 films. So there's no doubt in my mind we will have a lot of different Godzilla films in this list. So be sure to let me know which ones you guys might like. You might like them on the honorable mentions. They're probably your favorites. Just leave them down in the comment below, and we'll discuss more about it. And of course, we have two dishonorable mentions. Number 1. Now, out of all the Godzilla films that I've seen, and I kid you not, I've seen every single one, there's only one that can top off any Godzilla list. Godzilla, the King of the Monsters from 1954. Yep, you just can't beat the original. The original one was so well done with cinematography and making Godzilla look scary and this destructive force of nature. Not to mention, it was the first film we saw with his roar, and it was, even when the American version edited in a few American scenes, it wasn't bad because it kept the idea about what Godzilla was and who he is as a character. And after that film, it just spawned off sequels, new series, reboots, video games, anime, video games, comic books. I'm just like, holy crap, this guy is just a pop culture icon. And that's what happened. It was absolutely insane to watch. And if you guys are wanting to get into Godzilla, I do recommend you guys see the American versions, the 2014 and King of the Monsters coming out. But if you really want to understand who Godzilla is, this film is the one that can get you guys into this franchise. And that has it, guys. That's my top 10 list for my top 10 Godzilla films. Were there a lot of them that I probably left out? Yeah, because I liked them, but also I didn't feel like they were necessary to put in on the list. But there are other ones that I feel that probably should have been, but I'm just not going to take the time to review and just like try and cram all my thoughts into just a few minutes for each entry. So I definitely recommend you guys watch these films. They can be cheesy, they can be funny, but they're fun. That's what they are. They're just fun entertainment. So either way, I'm doing this because I am excited to go see King of the Monsters this weekend, and be sure to click notifications because I'll probably be doing a review about that after the day after, maybe. So either way, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Remember to smash the like button in the face, like the badasses you are, and click subscribe to join us here, or just go ahead and join the Dark Dwellings. I'm the Dark Reviewer, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace!